Good Friday afternoon or evening, wherever you may be. Good to see you here. Did I not add Victor in? I did not add Victor in.
Did I? Oh, look at me.
You look so, well, not well shaven. You never will be well shaven, will you?
No, I have baby beard. This is like a couple of months.
In a couple months, you grew more than I could have probably ever grown in my lifetime. So that's... Hi, by the way, my name is Darren. This over here is Victor, and we are the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox that comes out on Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern. And on Fridays, when we're around, very important note, when we're around, we try to do this live show. The reason why we're saying very important, the next 2 weeks, we're not here.
No, it's my fault. I take all the blame.
So actually, you're going to a place you have never been before.
That doesn't happen often, yes. I'll be next week Poland. I've been in Poland many times, but then week after that Israel. And I'm really looking forward to it.
And you're in Tel Aviv, is it? What is it? Is it DevOps?
Tel Aviv.
It's not DevOps.
KCD, Kubernetes
KCD.
Community Days. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So if you happen to be in Tel Aviv at KCD in 2 weeks, go see Victor. Well, I guess it should be probably at 10 days because you're actually flying back.
Yeah.
At the ish something, whatever it is.
I don't know anymore. I'll be there.
It's all details. Thomas, good to see you. Ari, I've seen you posting on Reddit. We need to talk. Sebastian, good to see you. Engen, hello. Karen, good to see you. Thanks everybody for being here. Now, although
Engen will be with me.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
All right.
Unless I'm terribly mistaken, yeah, he'll be in Tel Aviv, yeah.
Good. Marcin? Oh, yep, Engen, he's right. There. Stefan, good to see you. It's been a while. Good to see you back here. Or maybe you were here last week. Weeks are running together. But you know another thing that's happening this week? Welcome to daylight saving time in the U.S., but not anywhere else in the world.
Okay, so you need to be special, huh?
So, daylight saving time happens in the U.S. starting Sunday. And in theory, it will roll back in November 5th because it still hasn't passed into law yet, that we're never going back.
What are the chances it will pass into law? It was supposed to be last year, right?
51-49. I'm edging that it might, but I don't, it's not very strong to me. I am not in favor of permanent daylight. I'm in favor of permanent standard, which we've talked about that before because the chickens just not changing.
Zones.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Could we all live on UTC? Right? Is that possible? We could. It just, some people, it would be dark all the time during the day. And
no, you just kind of, that depends how you define, kind of, you get used to kind of what are the numbers, right?
Yeah. Now,
being 8 o'clock in the morning, I mean, midnight is an arbitrary hour anyways.
Yeah, like I woke up today and it was 2:30 a.m., not p.m., a.m. So I got up. So I've been up and going for almost 11 hours now. It's just one of those days. Now, for people in the EU, 2 weeks. If I remember correctly, normally it's only been a 1 week difference, but this time it's 2 weeks. That's going to be the hard part.
We're lagging behind you. We're lagging more and more.
I guess. I guess. Ari is like, absolutely. I saw this earlier. I don't know. In case everybody doesn't know, Silicon Valley Bank was taken into receivership by the Federal Deposit FDIC. I can't remember what that stands for.
Wait, I'm not getting what's happening.
So Silicon Valley Bank is no more.
Okay.
It was shut down.
Important bank?
I believe it.
I never heard about Silicon Valley Bank,
yeah,
to be honest.
I'm on the East Coast, so it's not as big of a deal out here, even though there is a branch out here. It's really, supposedly a lot of people got their funding through SVB.
Okay, it's a funding bank. Okay.
Well, no, it's a real bank too. But they were always part of things. So that's all I want to say because I don't know. I just saw it like 30 minutes ago. Hopefully nobody here is affected by it. That's all I'll say about it. Because bank closures are never fun on lots of levels. Luis, Amsterdam. All right.
Oh, see you in what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Not sure.
No, you're talking about KubeCon.
Amsterdam. Yeah.
That's middle of April, so about 4 weeks, I think.
Yeah, 4
Anyway,
weeks.
so in case all your meetings are screwed up next week, because mine already are, just know that they'll be screwed up for 2 weeks. Not just 1 week this year. Okay. Just in case you weren't aware, it starts in the U.S. this week. This week's podcast was with, I've been doing so much editing. AJ, here's something that's weird. I think because we recorded a couple this week, I think both of the people this week that we had interviews with were both named AJ. And then this week's release was actually AJ too.
It's a conspiracy.
It's a
They're
pattern
trying to confuse us.
Right. Well, it's a pattern, right? It's just, it's like, you know what? I'm going to go buy that red car. And then you look around afterwards and it's like, wait, there's this red car everywhere. I've never seen them. So AJ, if you're watching this, I apologize because I actually did listen to the episode. And one thing there were a number of things I took away from it. Well, I always listen to them, but I listened to it this morning at 2:45 when I was walking. By the way, I heard owls today. That was the first time I'd heard an owl in a very long time. And I also heard a pack of coyotes. Coyotes, if you will.
I'm surprised that you didn't hear, I don't know, people coming back from parties.
I live out in the sticks. People aren't coming back from parties at that time. But anyway, one of his things that he said was one of the key things that Zebrium does. So listen to the whole podcast because he has a lot of interesting insights. But one of the things they do that I thought was really interesting is they take their product and embed it in other people's products. So if you're trying to track down its root cause analysis is the thing behind Zebrium. But you don't necessarily have to go into the Zebrium UI to find it. They'll embed it into Datadog, OpsMX, all the other places. So if you see it, they're basically annotating where things happen. And then if you want to, you'll get some context there. But if you want more detail, you can head over to Zebrium. So you can click through it and go. That's genius. Because the last thing I want to learn is another UI. It reminded me of the, and nothing against UIs, right? Because if we're going to have a UI, have a good UI. But it reminds me of that standards meme that you've seen, right? We don't like these 14 other standards. Let's create another one. Now you have 15 standards, right? That's what.
Exactly.
So being able to embed as much as you can into something else where people pretty much live. Datadog, whatever. It's Datadog. I can't remember. He said a very long list, which was very interesting. So Zebrium, getting to the root cause. So they call it root cause as a service. So this was very interesting. I sort of remembered it because it's been a while since we recorded it. But then when I was listening to it today, it's like, yeah, there were a lot of good things. But that last mile of actually being where people actually are, your chances of being sticky with somebody over time goes through the roof. Why do you think all these vendors are putting stuff into your bank? When you log into your bank account, look at your bank account, and you look over on the right-hand side and you see offers from vendors, retailers. That's why.
The problem is that we got so much more productive with podcasts that we are now recording, months in advance.
Yeah.
And that means that I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, in full transparency, the one we recorded, was it yesterday? Yesterday, is scheduled to release near the end of June. And we're about 3 months ahead, which is great. It's great for me that we already have all those recorded. It's also horrible for me because all of those recorded and I have to start editing them now. But I have a plan. My sister turns 50 this year, and she's having a big party up in New York. And I'm trying my best to get as much stuff done so I can take a 2-week block and not think about anything. Now, fortunately for you, it happened to time out well because we actually got your calendar set up right, so I didn't book anything. These next 2 weeks, we don't have any recordings. So now I can edit at 2:30 in the morning.
Exactly.
Okay, enough about this. Podcast, Wednesdays, 6 a.m. Eastern. Speaking of the podcast, we had somebody on from Firefly about this time last year. We had Aaron on from Firefly. And we were talking about stuff. But this past week, they posted, what if DevOps tools look like humans? What if? Now, I did a live stream for the day job yesterday, and Jenkins was here, which was interesting. We didn't spend a whole lot of time on that one, but because we have some time today and there really wasn't much news this week, we've got a handful of tools that are interesting, I think, but we're going to land here for just a little bit. So let's go through these just little by little. So here's Linux, not Linus, but Linux.
Depressed.
Yeah. Looks, but very cool. Python, I like this one. Got some snake skin off the shoulder, little snake skin, snake tie. Postgres, this is one of my favorite ones. The colors are really cool. Just whatever. I don't think I've seen a cooler looking Jenkins logo ever.
No, that should be now embedded into Jenkins. It's amazing.
Mark and I were talking about it yesterday. I was like, but it's not artwork. So can you really do it? Because it's not covered. And it's like, I'm not a lawyer. Okay, that was that one. AWS. So I guess they were going after the bald-headed Jeff Bezos and sort of mix the two together, is my guess. I don't know. GitHub. A little bit of the Octocat going on there.
Very cool.
Chef, which is sort of a mashup of the Terminator. I'll buy that. PagerDuty. That one was sort of boring, comparatively, right? It's cool. I mean, that has some extra things here. Azure. That feels very Microsoft, right?
That says Microsoft. This is the best one so far. This is kind of, yeah.
As far as alignment, right? From a best perspective, it's like, okay, yeah. Well, no,
Exactly.
I still think Jenkins aligns the best so far.
Yeah, but there is a hidden meaning in this one. Kind of,
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it, yeah.
Here's Datadog.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. Google Cloud. Okay.
That's definitely Google Cloud, yes.
Google Cloud. GitLab. Fox off the side. See, I don't know that you needed the Fox head, but hey, this is what Midjourney's doing. I guess they used Midjourney. I can't remember if it was. Snowflake. I thought this was great. It's just that classic princess look. And you're not sure if she's going to kill you or not.
Yeah, she's going to kill you. That's
Okay.
the look.
Prometheus. Thought that was cool. That's sort of Star Wars, though. Right? It feels like the early years, like Rogue One type years. Docker. This one feels like the Azure one. Right? It's just sort of there. What do you think?
He's too old to fit the image.
He's too old. Terraform. Why purple? I don't understand the purple. It's like most
most of them have clear association with this one. Terraform. If you remove Terraform there from above the picture, I would never have guessed it.
Right. Because there's nothing there. Here's Kubernetes. I thought this was great.
Yeah,
Just
this is great.
the classic. Sort of steampunk was the word I was looking for yesterday, and Mark found it for me, which was good. So there's a few other steampunks that I like. The Vault one I thought was also cool from a steampunk perspective. OPA, dude, what can you say?
One.
Yeah. OpenTelemetry. The one that sort of messed with me though on this is if you look at where the glass or the headpiece is, that feels like a really bad Doctor Who episode, right? Where things were just buried into the skin.
Exactly.
Pulumi. That was I scratched my head on. That one I was
It's a cool picture. I wouldn't have guessed it.
Yeah.
Right? There is no clear association though.
Yep. Oh wait, let me because I've going here before. Purple because Terraform logo is purple. Is that true?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. Not that purple, but yeah.
Okay, all right, and that's my problem because I.
By
totally
the way,
missed that.
there are quite a few that I played the game. This was a game. You had to guess.
Oh really?
I don't know if you caught. Yeah.
No.
You were presented with one image after another to guess, and I missed. I don't know, 5 maybe or something like that.
I hadn't seen that. The Argo one was cool. Again, it feels like a Doctor Who character, right? Right, or any science fiction type deal.
But kind of this I guessed. This is Argo, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, popsicle.
Of course. Well, and the angled color slashes across
Exactly.
the top.
No, that's the logo. That's literally
Yeah.
the logo. Yeah.
Then here's Firefly,
Yeah.
which was cool, and I think they were the last ones. Yeah. So,
Very cool.
Aaron, I hope you had a lot of fun doing these, because I can't imagine what the prompts were. I wish he would publish the prompts, because
It was. I think that went live. The prompts, the game, like 2 months ago, or something like that.
oh, it did. Okay, well, I totally missed it. Okay. Well, anyway, I just saw this week, so I thought this was fun, right? Just everybody likes good pictures, and these were good pictures. One piece of news that came out today. Are you doing much with Tekton right now, or no?
Not much. Not much.
Not much. You're familiar with salsa, right? Not the chips
Yes.
and salsa. Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
I mean, I'm familiar with both.
I'm more familiar with the salsa that's chips. My wife, by the way, okay, I shouldn't be talking about this stuff, but my wife made a buffalo chicken ranch dip today for lunch. I may fall asleep in the next 10 minutes. Because I had the big dipping chips, like big corn chips, and so it's like, yeah. Anyway, this came out today, or yesterday, but I just saw it today. Salsa 2 with Tekton and Tekton chains, and it walks you through step by step how to do this.
Very cool.
It takes you through provenance and everything else. I mean, this is, if you're getting stuck with dealing with salsa, which I think everybody will in some shape or form in the next few years, this is going to be the building blocks, right? Because Tekton itself is a building block. Agreed or not agreed?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's not it's not the end all be all service. It's just a block, right?
Yeah. I would like it to be a bit more transparent though. I'm not sure whether that's possible, because salsa really there are too many stages of the life cycle of application tools involved. But if somehow it can be just there, that would be awesome. Maybe I'm becoming too lazy. I don't know.
Yeah. Remind me again what chains does, because this is me not spending any time in this area.
I don't know what is a Tekton chain.
Okay, well, here. We have a moment.
I'm pretty sure it came after I was using. After I was using Tekton seriously.
Right. Okay, Tekton. There's Tekton. Of course, they don't go into chains here. Chains. A standalone system which observes pipeline. What? You don't have time to do it this weekend, so that's fine. Well, I may go back through and spin this up some next week. Who knows? Probably not. Anyway, good post for overall of taking through that. So that's that. All right. So sbomqs. We talked about these guys back in February, and I got an email from one of the maintainers, Surendra, this number 2 person right here. And they've added some more stuff based on not just our feedback, but other people's feedback. I want to list those off here real quick. So Surendra, thanks for reaching out to me. We appreciate it. So here's some things that added since we talked about them in February. A JSON result for interop with other tools. I think that was one of the things we said is like, we need JSON. Not because I think at the time it was just YAML. I'm trying to remember. It's been a month. Customization of rules with a config file that the tool can generate itself and can be edited by the operator to turn rules on or off. So you couldn't do that before. Added documentation to show what rules are actually being used. Useful. Open the tool to open source SBOM generators. That one I still go through and I'm still trying to figure it out. And they gave some feedback to another tool that we'll look at in just a moment that you might find interesting.
Okay.
To help the generation happen. In fact, let's go to that. So anyway, Surendra, thanks for that. Their 0.9 release came out yesterday, which was whatever that is, March 9th. If you take a look at that, you're not going to be like, okay, what were you just talking about? Go back to releases, because I think when we talked about it, we talked about probably well, it wasn't 7, it was probably 5 or 6. But 8 had a lot of very interesting things in it. So if you're, again, being stuck with SBOMs, going back to the SLSA stuff we were just talking about, there's lots of tools. This one seems to be pretty interesting, and they're very responsive. So that's good to see. Now, the second tool that you might find interesting, this is one they referenced. It's called gh-sbom. So it's a plugin for the GitHub CLI.
Okay, so it outputs SBOMs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think I want to output SBOMs. I mean, I want to generate SBOMs, and I want tools that do something with it. I'm not going to look at this. Are you going to? Is anybody
but if you
going
can
to
generate
look at
it, but if you can generate it and put it somewhere else to be, this is the pipe. This is the head of the pipe, right?
Yeah, kind of. To put it, you mean, yeah, you could
somewhere for it to be
put
processed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's built, if you're using the GitHub CLI a lot, then it's just now part of the GitHub, not part of the GitHub CLI, but a plugin for it. Extension, sorry. I live in different worlds. Extension.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's my only problem with this one. And it's not a problem. So you can tell just by looking at the date, it's really like, in fact, he did or 1 hour ago. So an hour ago. But if you go all the way to the bottom, where was it? Do you take it out? Background. There is not another planned release, but bug reports are welcome. Now, in theory, once you get it fixed, it should just be, right? This is one of those types of projects.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if there is a bug, he will probably fix it, but probably no new release with new features because you got the output. What else do you want?
Yeah, if the spec changes, okay, that might bring it. So I'm thinking like curl, right?
Yeah.
Daniel still maintains curl after all these years, but how many new features have happened for curl? And when they came in, why did they come in? Well, because the environment changed. So that's what I think this means. It's not a...
that's because curl is very mature and has everything that you can imagine, right? But it's not that comparable to early days of curl because curl is actually extremely feature rich, right? There is a lot of things going on there in a background and foreground. Now this is literally kind of output. That's it. I would be surprised if there are more than a few releases.
Right, and that's probably what am I trying to say? That's all that will need to be released. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So, you may or may not care. I guess not. Sad face. MRSK. If you follow 37 signals, David Heinemeier Hansen, Basecamp, whatever, right? So there's the big thing right now of they are going to be repatriating back into self-managed, away from cloud, to save. Mm-hmm. They've said a few magic numbers like 7 million over 3 years or something. And for a small company, 7 million is no chump change, right? That's if you had an office, that would fill up a lot of refrigerators, right? I mean, so a lot of people is like, why not just use? So what this is a tool to help deploy an application. They're a Ruby on Rails shop, so it's basically built for that. And it's basically, the way they state it here, MRSK is basically Capistrano for containers. Capistrano is the deploy tool for Rails.
Yeah.
And they go into here. It's like, Kubernetes is a beast. Okay. I'm guessing, Victor, you would agree with that, whether you agree with him on everything else.
Kubernetes is a beast, exactly. I mean, it's a huge beast that
Second sentence
doesn't make sense for many.
Right. Running yourself on your own hardware, is also not for the faint of heart. I would probably rewrite that as running it yourself on your own hardware. What are you thinking?
You're thinking that you're a bank.
Yeah. there has to be a reason for you to do it yourself on your own hardware. We're not talking GKE.
No.
We're not talking, this is, here's my servers. Let's go do that. No, so don't do that.
I don't think that anybody or very few start with their own hardware now.
Yeah.
So the reason is simply because we have it, because we're used to it, and reasons are historical, right? But
Right. As you can see here, it's a fine option if you want to run on somebody else's, either using something like Render or running your own cluster. But if you want freedom to move, okay, then this is usually the argument, hey, I want to be able to move from cloud to cloud. How many people actually do that? Okay, it may happen, but it's like usually a tectonic shift to move from one to the other. Like you got mad at Cloud X and now you're going to Cloud Y for whatever reason. Or you've been on Cloud X and Cloud Y has brought you away because they're cutting your prices by 50%. Right? There's reasons.
so I like the idea. I mean, I'm not into Rails, so I'm half guessing here. I like the idea, but for the potential users of this, my answer would be Fly.io, Google Cloud Run, Azure Container Apps. I mean, of course, you do not need container, at least not used directly, but you don't need either to run it on your own servers in cloud. Just use the service.
Well, I listened to a podcast episode where he talked through this, and they didn't even want to do that. For their reasons, right? Just for their reasons. Because because again, there's probably going to be a tipping point for the size of services they need to run that it's not enough to be at AWS scale, but it's also too much to run it at Fly scale.
Yeah.
There's that there. So if it's purely a money play, and I think what they said, because it was him and like director of engineering or something, and they did it was $160,000 a week in cloud spend or something like that. Like they broke it down to a weekly spend.
Anymore, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, if I can get that 160 down to 20 a week, if that means I need to run my own hardware, that means I need to own my own. And that's the reason why they built this MRSK in such a way that it abstracts away enough of the human. Basically, all it's doing is calling Docker and Docker build X and other things under the hood. If you take a look at it, that's all it's doing. But it's doing it in a very opinionated way. We like opinionation.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually was going to do a video about this next week. And I started playing with it a little bit, and I got, I think I'm going to wait for like another couple releases. It was just a little raw for me. It works fine, but it's like, I don't know. There are still applications that cannot go to cloud. Yes. And that's the thing.
I'm fully in support running on your own hardware or not made by you, sometimes made by you. I think that's brilliant. I'm just not, I'm against not running in cloud when it's a good use case. Not all use cases are good use cases, but typical bank should go to cloud.
Parts of the services
Maybe
of the
not
bank.
for everything.
Yeah, right, exactly. Parts of the services should go to cloud.
Yeah.
Like anything that is going to be customer facing, right? I don't have my phone here, but mobile apps and that kind of stuff. It's like get anything that's edge related, get it as close to your customer as possible when it makes sense. But I think it's interesting. I'm going to do a video on this at some point. It's to me it's doing too much stuff. So once I got into it, it's like, okay, basically creating a Jenkins file would be one line. MRSK deploy. And it does everything. Like, I'll show it. If you haven't looked at the docs, I thought it was genius. So they go through, there's a little bit of a YAML thing. It's a sane YAML to me until you get a little bit deep. But here's what this does. So when you say MRSK deploy, it will connect to the servers that you've defined. So you define which servers you want to go to. And, okay, connects by root, bad idea. I mean, there's some things here that I wouldn't want to do in real life. But if I've got total control over everything and it's me, then okay, maybe. If Docker is not installed on the server, it will install it for you. So you don't even have to, sorry, Victor, use Crossplane or Terraform or anything else. You just need the box there.
Exactly.
Right? It takes care of that dependency. It takes care of... Huh?
Debian box.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm judging by apt-get.
Yeah. It's right now it's only Ubuntu, and that was the other thing too is I don't really run Ubuntu. I usually run Fedora-based something. Some flavor of Fedora. Right? So it logs in to the registries. It builds the image. This is the reason why I don't like doing that. I would want that pulled out. Like, to me, the life cycle of MRSK deploy is like saying Maven clean install or Maven clean deploy, right? It's that full life cycle. And I don't like having
model, right? You're not even building containers or anything. You just push code, I'm guessing, right?
No, this one actually builds the container, pushes it to the registry, and then it pulls pulls the images onto the servers. Like, it's following all the ways I would do things manually.
Yeah.
Right, as one command. So I like the one command, but basically my Jenkins file or a GitHub action would be a single line, which is fine, right? But they're using traffic on the server. So you've got traffic and you've got Docker. And if you're going to run multiple instances, you're going to have to throw a load balancer out front. Not bad. So that way when you replace, this is what gets down into steps 9, 10, and 11, and make sure that it's up and running with a 200 to a specific endpoint. That's okay. And then the container gets started. Stop the old container. Traffic flops over. And then it prunes out images that you're not using.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was doing it by hand, this is what I would do.
Exactly. That's Docker Compose essentially with traffic sprinkled in and all happening over SSH.
Correct. But I think he even discusses Docker Compose here. That was even. Did he say Compose here? I don't remember now that I'm thinking. Nope, he didn't say Compose here. I got confused. But anyway, it's still very early. It's like 9.1, so or 0.91. But I am going to visit it. I'll probably visit it again in probably a couple weeks, just see how much further along it's come. But for things where this work, like if you're in that sweet spot of you need to run enough things to where Fly is going to cost you more than just running your own hardware and being in a data center.
Yeah, I mean it's not even it's a single server type of.
It's a single server, or if you've got load balancers, then do whatever. Because you're paying for that convenience with Fly.
Yeah.
Right? They're willing to pay with knowledge in getting their apps running the way that they want to run them. Understanding that it may not be as hands off, but the benefits outweigh the cost.
But now going through the Thomas comment, right? Thomas is also right. If you would replace Docker with K3s on that server, the definition, we're not talking about service meshes and this and that, right? Kind of the definition would be relatively easy and straightforward. You can generate it from a simple YAML. That same thing could be in Kubernetes. Now, whether single node Kubernetes probably wouldn't make. You know what you would get if you would use K3s? No SSH.
Right. So you'd have to do a lot more prep on the box.
K3s.
Right. You'd have to do a lot more prep on the box than what they're doing here. They're just expecting to have an SSH key and the OS, and that's it. And it takes care of everything else for them. So I don't need Ansible to do my stuff because the tools I need I'm going to install. But a single node K3s does sound interesting, right? So if I could make that smart enough, then that might make more sense.
You know, the engineer in me immediately starts to complicate things. Kind of, I'm starting thinking, okay, why are you installing Docker? Why don't you actually create a VM based on an image, for example? Then you don't need the steps to install Docker. It's kind of, there are some redundant steps over there.
There are.
But still, I'm complicating, I know.
Well, yeah, but see, for them to actually, like this is, and Ari brings it up here, there were 3 blog posts, and again, the podcast that they did, I think it was this week that came out from 37 Signals. what's interesting is they really fought with going to container images. And they realized actually how powerful that was. I mean, if you think about just setting up, which we're going to come to another tool in a minute that's going to remind you of this, just setting up Ruby on bare metal is probably one of the most painful things I've ever done in my life. It's sort of like getting the Python environments right, or there's all that just stuff. Whereas I have an image, go run my image, right? So then what they fought with, because they were going to go Kubernetes, if I remember all the stories right. And it's like, we don't need that much, right? They just didn't need that much. So
no, for a single application, probably single replica, single instance application running on a single VM, which I understand is the primary use case for this. Yeah, Kubernetes is an overkill, right? I'm still saying Google Cloud Run if you don't want Fly IO. I'm still thinking that it would be easier.
Yeah, but again, with a single, that's probably true.
Yeah.
But when you've got multiple apps or you need to run multiple replicas of the app to have availability, then...
Yeah, but if we're talking about multiple apps, multiple replicas, then we are bringing back Kubernetes into the picture.
Potentially. We'll see how this plays out. Again, Ari calls it out here. David created Rails. How to make it efficient and perform it. I don't know that you can ever make Rails performant. David, if you're watching this, I apologize, but I was having an interesting conversation earlier today, and OpenTelemetry came up. And the only reason I know this is because we've had enough conversations about it to where somebody was like, man, it's going to be really hard to put OpenTelemetry in our app. I went, and some other people couldn't understand why that was going to be such a big deal. I went, because they're running it using Go. And I was like, then the light bulb's like, well, what's different about Go and Java? I went, oh, let me tell you the ways. Right? Because OpenTelemetry on Go today is still painful at best.
Yeah. I mean,
the full suite.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, not only Go, Rust is probably complicated.
Same problem.
And others that basically, if you have a binary.
Right. It's static versus dynamic. Loading.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's MRSK. Here's one that you might find interesting since we're talking about Go. Goenv. I don't know if you have this on. How many versions of Go do you need to keep around when you're doing development?
One.
Okay. So this probably won't make any difference to you. But for those of you that have multiple Go's that you have to deal with, this is like RBENV for the Ruby environment. So basically you can just go in and set it up and it's like, okay, which version of Go do I want? I want 18. Oh, okay, I want to go ahead and make it the global version or whatever.
Nice.
Because that's also very painful.
I mean, especially if you work in open source, you need this for sure, right? In your company, you're probably not going to be using 17 different versions of Go or anything else. But if you work in open source, then this is cool. It's really cool.
Yeah. That's the first time. Now, it's not super young. I mean, it's been out for months, less than a year, but, it goes right along. And we've seen this Clivern before, but I don't remember what it was about. Anyway.
But, without diminishing the value of working locally, which I do very, very often, if it's open source, which I mentioned before, the best thing that projects can do is just provide Gitpod or code spaces button and say, you want to work on this project? Yeah, press this button. And then if you want to set it up locally and ignore the button, great. Absolutely amazing. But there you go. You get the environment.
One-click development. Wait,
Yeah.
is that available? Somebody go look that up. Okay. Your two videos this week. Ground cover with eBPF.
Yeah, very cool. Very surprisingly cool. I mean, surprisingly sounds as if I did not expect it to be good, but
And we've had them on the podcast, and then you did a follow-up with this.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we did.
I'm so forgetful, man. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Just all-in-one monitoring solution. That's a short description. Kind of everything you need is there, and it's using eBPF behind the scenes. So, pretty cool.
And then with Whitney this week, you were doing Postgres in the dev environment.
Yes. Yes, that was the most heated episode so far. That was
Why is that? Because I haven't had time to see it yet.
no kind of like both Helm and Crossplane. I guess we're trying to convince each other.
Who was doing
how to
Crossplane?
use-
Were you doing Crossplane, or was somebody else doing Crossplane?
I wasn't. I
Okay.
didn't want
You
to.
had somebody else. Okay, you tried to stay neutral in the thing.
Exactly. So it was really cool. Now, next episode is figuring out how to. So people were voting. They chose Crossplane in cloud. That's gonna be next episode. Now the voting is going on right now since an hour ago, to choose AWS, Azure, or Google. And whatever the choice is, that's what I will do as a demo in the next episode, and then we proceed towards figuring out how to manage database schemas. You
Ooh,
put me in front too late.
yeah, I did. Sorry. So, do you have the list of people for the schemas yet?
Yes, there will be.
Oh.
It will be Liquibase and Schema Hero. We're going to have Fly.io.
You mean Flyway?
In big. No, not
Flyway?
Fly.io. Yeah, Flyway, exactly. Mostly because, in big part, because I use Flyway a lot. I haven't used it for a long while, so I was curious to see where it is right now. But we couldn't find a guest for.
Oh, too
Flyway.
bad. So Schema Hero, and what was the one that we talked about? I did a video recently. Here, I'm going to live on the edge for a second. I'm going to look for something live. I think it was Atlas DB that I did something with. No,
That
not
is
that.
Atlas DB. Yeah, that's Terraform-ish.
No, that wasn't it.
Terraform syntax HCL to manage database schemas.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking about, but it's not
Atlas,
this one. Okay.
No.
No, I can't remember what it was.
It's called
Hmm.
Atlas. But
It's Atlas, yeah,
It's
yeah.
one of those. To all founders of startup companies, figure out a name that can be Googled. I cannot Google Atlas.
How many different
I mean, I
atlases
can Google.
are there?
Let
Yeah.
me rephrase. I can Google Atlas. I'm
Here,
capable
let's do
of
this.
doing that.
We'll
I'm
do it
not going
again.
to get Atlas.
Atlas DB, right? Or we'll say Atlas DB
Schema
first.
probably. you
Or
mean.
Atlas-
Yeah, that Atlas is a MongoDB service,
Right.
so it's not that one.
atlasgo.io.
That sounds
it.
about right.
That's
Yeah.
it. But, I mean, I had to... It's like prompt engineering. I had to get it just right in order to find the site I wanted.
Yeah, but you cannot say you can't tell people, "Hey, check out Pulumi," right? And people find Pulumi.
Yeah,
you
'cause
don't
I
need to give
say-
the address or anything. There you
Pulomi.
go. Right?
Pulomi.
And I'm used
Right? Even if I messed it up, it said,
exactly.
this is what you want.
You still get Pulumi. Now you go check out Atlas. It's really cool. If that's all the information you're getting, you're never going to find it.
Atlas.
There you go.
Atlas database.
Yeah, you need
Oh,
to
I got
schema.
IBM first this time.
That, okay,
Oh, now I
that's,
got Mongo.
but MongoDB has a service called Atlas. There you go. There is Atlas Go.io. So
Nobody else should use the word Atlas for any product or project they're working on.
yeah, any commonly known word.
Gee.
That's it.
Jivan, good to see you, man.
Okay.
So let's see if we can figure this out. So next week, okay, so we know we're not going to be here for the next 2 Fridays.
Yes.
Are we not here for the next 2 Thursdays?
AMA?
Mm.
No AMA scheduled. No. So no AMAs. We will have the Monday video.
Monday video.
Tuesday CNCF, which next week is just moved an hour ago to Monday because I just realized
Travel.
that I'm in a plane. And the Wednesday podcast.
Fest. That's it. I think it's all we got to do, because I'm not going to lose an hour of sleep this weekend. That's all I'm saying. I'm just going to go to bed an hour earlier so I still get this same amount of sleep. Look, if I'm getting up at 2:30 in the morning, I got to go to bed early. Hey. Oh, yeah. No, this replay shirt was probably the original year in 2012, 2013. The very first, because I went to the first 3 reinvents.
Okay. And so that's from reInvent.
This is a reinvent shirt. I think this was the first, because I've got 3 reinvent shirts that were. I only take one shirt from an event.
Never been on reInvent.
You're not missing.
Stars never aligned for me to go to reInvent.
So, since they started to the point to where they live streamed every room, there's no purpose in going.
Yeah, but the purpose is always kind of to meet the people and stuff like that.
Well, yeah. But back then, it was only in the Venetian. Now it's over, 3 or 4 different hotels? No thanks. Look, when I get to Vegas...
Exaggeration of people. I heard stories that people had to take Uber to reach the...
Exactly. No, that's the way that the Java conference that was in downtown San Francisco, it became part of Oracle World, but I can't remember. What did the Java conference use? Was it Java World? I don't even remember anymore.
Yeah, it was Java World, I think. I think.
But whatever. So I remember being down there one year. I had to go from Moscone over to the Hilton, which wasn't it's not a far walk, but it's also not a close walk. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. Don't do that anymore.
So I'm guessing in reInvent you pick a truck and you just stick to it.
I guess so. So this was interesting. So what Jivan's here is like, it's worth it for the party. So the parties are basically all the thump, thump, thump music that I don't understand and never have understood. I didn't see... One year I think was... Who's the big mouse head? Who is that one? I don't know. I just remember he was wearing a mouse head.
Some DJ something.
Yeah, he's a DJ. They only have DJs. It's not like bands. They just have DJs. But like the big top level DJs.
But I'm
Thank
guessing...
you. Dead Mouse.
Dead Mouse.
Thank you.
Okay.
Dead Mouse.
Yeah.
But it's MAU5.
I'm guessing it's one of those where every half
Java
of the
1.
vendors are competing
Thank
who
you.
is going to spend more money, right? On a party or something like that.
Yeah. It's interesting. So if you can go for free, then you should go to enjoy it. But like the years I went, this is back when a lot of people were still working at Netflix. And they were still building Netflix. So you were hearing interesting stories. Pinterest, the same thing, right? You were getting a lot of the early stories. But now those are just 10-year-old stories. So,
what can you do? I mean,
not go to reInvent.
if I lived in States, I would probably go there for the sake of going there, right? But crossing the ocean, I'm not sure.
It's not worth it. It is not worth it. Okay. So anyway, basically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays for the next 3 weeks. 2 weeks. Sorry, 2 weeks. I can't add math today. So have a fun time in Israel, Victor. That'll be a big trip.
I will, yeah. There's a lot of people
And Poland.
I know,
Poland will
so
be
it
fun too. Except it's going to be cold for you.
It will be cold, and it's going to be because I'm going to one place, Burgos or whatever, and then right after talk, taking a train to go to Warsaw, do KCD, the online KCD for Ukraine, and then straight after that going to the meetup and flying back home. So it's going to be very busy. Israel is going to be cooler apart from weather because I'll be there whole week. So kind of easy going. One place.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here with us today. Have a good couple of weeks. Be sure, if you haven't joined the Slack channel, be sure to join the Slack channel. Link to that's down in the description. And that's where we'll do most of the post of knowing when we'll be back. But we should be back in 3 weeks. That's the reason why I got confused. It's like, we should be back in 3 weeks. With everything at that point.
I'll be back.
Because I think you're home for a whole week that week.
Huh? Yeah, yes.
You're home for a whole week. I think you're home for 2 weeks, and then you go to KubeCon.
2 weeks and then KubeCon, yes.
I think that's what it is. Must be nice to be you. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Remember, time changes in the U.S., not in the EU. If you want to change in the EU, I guess you could, but nobody else will be with you.
Follow
right?
what mobile tells you.
Exactly. When you wake up the next morning, is it the time you thought it was? Yes. great. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.